Hello everyone and welcome. In today's video we're going to be talking about the latest episode of Skeleton Crew. So if you haven't seen the episode, please obviously make sure to pause the video, watch the episode, then come back and see me. However, if you don't care about spoilers or you've already seen it, well, welcome. So let's get right into this. So the episode starts off right where the last one ended, which was them going to the planet. They land on this planet that they are assuming is Aten. However, when they land there, the planet does look like Aten. It clearly is not Aten. Because when they land there, everything looks the same in the sense of like the structures and everything else. However, it looks like time has actually, sped up, I guess the best way to phrase it. Because there was destruction everywhere, buildings destroyed, plants growing inside of buildings and homes, all of which doing the same thing pretty much throughout the entire planet. So the kids decide to investigate, and they order the droid to keep Crimson Jack on the ship. So they go inside together, and then the four of them go looking around the planet. Like they had stated, everything was looking very similar to Aten. However, it was clearly either not their planet or a significant amount of time had passed, and they weren't quite sure which one. So they continued looking on, and that's when they get found by two kids who are on lookout, I guess the best way to phrase it. So they basically order our group of kids to hide with them, and we see a large militia walking through the areas, basically trying to make sure that they don't get seen. So the girl that was in charge, with a French accent, I'll say, she orders the kids to come follow her, and they go to what looks like the school. Now, on their planet, that was where the school was, and it looks like it was once a school at some point. However, with the destruction of what looked like could be war or just destruction in general, they happen to be using it as a sanctuary. So they go inside, they meet the leader of this militia, I guess the best way to phrase it, because it looks like the planet is divided in half, one half doing one thing, and the other half doing the other. We're unclear on the differences between the two of them, however, they are just different in general. So apparently this group allows children to be warriors, however, they have to prove their worth, just like everyone else. So they originally order the kids to be taken out. However, they decide against it when they find out Fern is a captain, which means to them that they obviously are warriors and should be treated as such. So they are going to then be used to see, basically what the idea is, they're going to have them show their skills and determine whether or not they're worthy. During the conversations, they do find out that there's the potential of not a roadmap, but a coordinates of Aten somewhere on the planet, specifically in this ancient pillar. I believe is what they described it as. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But they had to prove their worthiness before they were allowed to see it. So the group then decided to start grabbing weapons to see which ones that they liked the most. However, Neil was the only one that didn't really want to do it. So the leader, the leader's daughter, was very much trying to have a better understanding of what was going on, and she shows Neil all around. So while the other three were basically just fooling around shooting their weapons and everything else, Neil was going around seeing what the schools was being used for. So he gets to the roof with this girl to find out that they're all living on the roof of the roof of the school. So because of that, they were able to see, like, it basically looked like a village there, with huts and everything else inside. So they then, she shows him where the rations are so he can eat. However, he gives his rations to two kids who look like they were starving. So he does just that. So they go through all that, and they try to do their best on figuring out exactly what it is they're going to do. So they continue on, and my apologies. So they move on to that, and Fern gets to see this massive weapon that they use to defend the school. And so Fern's basically trying to explain, like, I don't understand why you guys have to fight all the time. Like, if you guys keep raiding each other, is it ever going to end? And, the girl's like, well, we hope so. And he's like, well, why don't you guys just talk about it like you should? Like, why aren't you able to just talk about it? Why is it that you are, like, fighting all the time? Because that's just the way it is. So they are then ordered that they're going to have to lead them into battle to get their herd back. Apparently it's these creatures that they use, and they were raided before, and their stuff was taken. However, they were going to have these kids help them take it back. So they move on and see what they could do. They are very much not for it. However, they're basically forced to. So the four of them are leading the entire platoon to a raid. While this is going on, we find out that Jack was trying to get the droid to remember about Atten. And apparently there is some sort of knowledge inside of the droid about Atten. So he gets him outside to try to get him to remember things. However, the other militia comes to find them, surrounding them completely. So we assume that, well, he's captured and most likely going to be killed. Well, I doubt he would be killed, but let's be honest, capture for sure. However, when the four begin to go through to get ready for the raid, we see Jack and the droid, who are now there with apparently all of the herd that they were looking for. Jack decided to buy the herd and give it back to the other tribe. How did he know what was going on? That is unclear in and of itself. However, they were granted permission to get to see the ancient area. So they get shown by the girl where they needed to go, and it was basically a pillar that was used that was off limits to everyone on Atten. Because these planets are very similar, they go inside. However, the girl does not go with them and leaves them to be. So they go inside and they see that there are coordinates for all these planets with similar names. Because apparently Atten was not the only planet that was kept out of the loop. However, Atten was the only one with coordinates that were destroyed. All the others were still pretty much there, ready to be looked at. However, this one was destroyed. What they find out is the droid had more knowledge than they thought. So Fern overrode his programming because apparently somebody ordered him to forget. So they were able to get information of what happened. So apparently his original captain, or his last captain, whatever you want to phrase it, were there and ordered anybody who had saw the coordinates to be killed, and then destroy the coordinates themselves. And anybody who tried to find the treasure were to be ripped from limb to limb. And that's when the droid begins to go on get ready to go on a rampage and goes to attack the three kids. I know what you're saying, what do you mean three kids? So it was KB, Fern, and Wim. However, Neil was throwing rocks at him to try to get him to stop, so the droid goes after Neil next. That's when Jack goes by, hits the shut-off switch, and shuts the robot off. He falls on the ground, Neil passes out, and the episode ends with them realizing that the droid knows a lot more than what they thought, and the fact that somebody really wants to keep Atten a secret. And that right there by itself is the end of the episode. So what we have here is apparently there was a group of planets that must have been formed, let me rephrase it that way, with the Old Republic, where they were to keep secret from the rest of the world so they could be safe if ever needed, if there ever was an issue in the event of a war or something like that. Unclear as to why that was the case, nor why it would be needed, and especially if it was a secret to everyone. But would have to wait and see to find out more. But apparently, I would imagine that all the planets had been found except for Atten. And apparently Atten is the only planet to have kept its secrets so far that we are aware of. The reason why I say it that way is because none of the other coordinates were destroyed, which alludes to the fact that the rest of the planets had been found. Because if they weren't meant to be kept a secret anymore, it would be because somebody's already found where they are. So now the kids and Jack are all going to try to figure out how they're going to find their way to Atten. And we still don't know what the secret is between Atten and the rest of the universe, but we'll have to wait and see to what that looks like. But let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not? And why? And as always, if you like the content you see, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. Other than that, this is going to be Beastly Eels signing out. Have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.